Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Angela Eagle is Labour's Border Security and Asylum Minister. How sad we actually need a minister for that. But she was due to go to Glasgow this coming week, and she has cancelled that visit. And I'm going to suggest it's out of embarrassment and fear. Now, you may possibly have noticed that there is a lot of tension in Glasgow at the moment, and it's said to be on a bit of a knife edge. This is all to do with mass immigration and people not wanting it. And at the football match the other week, or the other day, whenever it was last week, the Rangers fans had put up an anti-asylum banner and so forth. And people going, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. But actually now it's becoming more mainstream. More and more people are very concerned about it. And it's becoming more acceptable to be vocal about it, allegedly, apparently. But she will now not visit Glasgow because of the tensions in the city. Now, she's also going to be wandering around and seeing a lot of immigrants mooching around. She'll have seen this. She'll have seen locals complaining about crime, about the change of culture. She'll see a lot of graffiti, and she'll feel a palpable anger. And as I say, it's very much on a knife edge, and I think she's very scared in case it all kicks off while she's there. After all, it was her party that introduced this mass immigration to Britain. Tony Blair, all those years ago, throwing open the door and doing nothing about it. And now, of course, the news is today that since Keir Starmer came to power, over 30,000 illegals alone have come to this country. And that's on top, of course, of the ones coming here legally, which, they come here legally, that's fine, they've gone through the correct routes. This lot, we don't know who they are, there's no record of who they are, we don't know what they've done, we don't know what they bring with them, what baggage, But it's very telling that she's cancelled this, because even Alan Casey from the from the SNP rather, he issued, and he's a Glasgow City Councillor, and he issued a warning this week, extraordinary warning, saying that there was a palpable risk, real risk of social unrest in the city at any time. Now, this is the SNP saying this, and it's SNP policy to bring people in. That's what they've been saying, and now they're starting to feel it, and they're starting to get scared, because they know that if the people did rise up, it won't just start and stop there. It could translate across, and they'd come after those in power, and those in power are shitting themselves, and quite right too. They've done it. They're the ones making these decisions. Now, Glasgow already houses more than 4,000 illegal immigrants, or asylum seekers, if they want to call themselves that, and 54% of those are in temporary accommodation. Accommodation that can't be given over to Glaswegians who find themselves in trouble because the rules are there that asylum seekers must take priority over the indigenous, which actually goes counter to the United Nations standing on indigenous peoples. But hey, don't let international law get in the way of screwing over the British. In addition, more than 1,000 asylum seekers have come to Glasgow from other UK cities. God knows why, but apparently this is to take advantage of the SNP government's very, very generous asylum housing policy. And this, of course, is why the SNP are now in the closet, wiping their backsides, because everything is opening very wide at the moment. They know they're in trouble. What's the solution? Well, there is one, but nobody dares say it, of course. But that Councillor Casey, he did say, and I'm going to quote, I've made a note of this. He said, "We're obviously very disappointed that the Minister's visit to Glasgow has been cancelled, meaning there will now be no opportunity to meet next week. The Home Office needs to engage with this issue urgently, and I am seeking assurances that this will be no more than a very brief postponement." What he's doing there is he's trying to pass the buck for SNP policy of welcoming people, making it very generous for the housing for them to go there, trying to pass the buck down to Labour in London for their own policies, because they've realised, and I've got to put my best Morgan Freeman voice on there, that was the moment they realised they had fucked up. Nothing like Morgan Freeman, but you know that line he has. Well, that's where we're at with them. Hey ho. She's running away scared. The council know that they've screwed up. They don't know what to do, and they can feel the anger brewing in Glasgow. And from knowledge, Glaswegians are not necessarily the most diplomatic people when it comes to anger. They tend to be very vociferous and hands-on, I believe the terms is. We shall see. But, yeah, unprecedented immigration led by SNP policy, an angry city, and a Labour minister too scared to visit. Sums it all up. It's Labour, isn't it? Thanks very much. Bye.